Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamika Strong, and I am the Reference and Research Division Manager of the Auburn Avenue Research Library. And I wanted to thank you for joining us for our second Find It Fridays presentation. Find It Fridays is a monthly instructional series designed to assist researchers in discovering information, utilizing the rich resources through Auburn Avenue Research Library and the Fulton County Library System. This series takes place via Zoom on the third Friday of the month at noon. And during these 1 hour sessions, you'll be introduced to our collection and better researching tips and tricks. So this series is ongoing. The next program that we will have in April will be for AARL Resources for Poets in April on the 18th. And the May program on the 16th will be ProQuest Historical Black Newspapers. But today's presentation, which will be presented by Derek Mosley, the archivist and manager of the Archives Division at Auburn Avenue, he will be discussing or demystifying the demystifying the AARL archives. So without further ado, Derek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tamika, and good afternoon to everyone, or good morning, wherever you're at. I want to thank Tamika Strong and the Reference and Research Division for inviting the archives to participate in Find It Friday. We're very excited to talk about our collections and how you can do research. This afternoon, the chat is being monitored by some of our archive staff. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type those in, and I will try to answer those at the end of this session. So a little bit about the Auburn Avenue Research Library archives. We have roughly 225 different collections, and our oldest item dates to 1689, and our newest item would be something from 2025. So we have a variety of items, collections, photographs, books, all types of items that can be used for research. And so we want to make sure that people feel comfortable in searching our collections as well as coming in and doing research. So I'm going to talk a little bit about searching for archives and how you go about looking to find a repository that may have the information that you're seeking. Because archives are so very unique and different and all collect different items, you may have to go on a scavenger hunt to find the information that you're looking for. Unlike books and other items that are published, archives are generally one-of-a-kind items and very unique. So there's only usually one copy. And so that copy could end up in a number of places, and your work is kind of trying to figure out where that item is or where that photograph is that you're looking for. And I will say that sometimes the item may not exist. Only a fraction of things that are written or photographs that are taken actually end up in archives. So your research and your work to find archives can sometimes be very frustrating. But if you check in with staff at the different archives, you'll usually be able to be led in a direction that may be helpful. So a little bit about the Archives Division here at the Auburn Avenue Research Library. Our mission is to preserve and make available the unique historical records of enduring value related primarily to African American culture and history, with a concentration on local Atlanta history. So the bulk of our collections do deal with local Atlanta, but we also document the state of Georgia, the South, the whole United States, and the diaspora. But we try to focus on collecting things that are local to Atlanta. So as you're looking for different archives and places to do your work, there are a number of resources that are available online. One that I highly recommend is Archives Grid, which is a space for you to type in what you're looking for, and see if there are materials related. So wherever you're located at, if you go to Archives Grid, as you see on the screen, you can actually pinpoint where in a state you are trying to find where there could be archival collections. And so this is a very great resource, which is maintained by OCLC, to kind of be able to find the different archives that exist. So for instance, in Georgia, you can find a list of all of the different repositories where you could do research. Can everybody see my screen now? Thank you. So I was talking about Archives Grid, which is a great source to find records throughout the US. So if you go to Archives Grid, you'll be able to actually look in your area where you are at for local repositories as well as throughout the US. So they provide a list of every state, and you can go in and look and see what repositories exist in that state. And if you needed more information, each page gives you the contact information for that archives. So if you wanted to ask questions or search their collections, you would be able to do so. At the top of the website, there's a search feature where you can search whatever your topic is. If it's if you have a specific interest and you just kind of want to see what shows up, the NAACP is a good topic to start with. And so if I do that quick search, I'm able to pull up records. About almost 5,000 different hits happened. And I can browse through and kind of see what exists throughout the US on the NAACP. And so if I was interested in seeing what the College of Charleston had, I could click right here and it would give me more information on what these items are, as well as contact information if I needed to reach out to contact the College of Charleston. So this is a really good example of if you're starting out with a research topic and you're not ready necessarily to physically go in and look at a archives, you can start by using Archive Grid as a source to kind of find where information may be for your research. So the other resources that I wanted to just briefly mention, the American Historical Association has a wiki that also has links to different archives throughout the US. There's the National Union Catalog of Manuscript Collections, which is run by the Library of Congress, and there's the National Archives Catalog. So all four of these are great resources for trying to figure out where collections and where items may live throughout the US that you may need for your research topic. So I want to talk briefly about the very differences between the repositories that you may have to visit as you're doing your research. So as I showed in one of my earlier slides, each archives kind of has a different focus and mission. So depending on where you're going, there could be different collections as well as different policies and procedures for how things can be used. So throughout the US, there are a number of different types of archives. Um, Most colleges and universities will have archives that are dedicated to documenting the school or the university, as well as other topics that they may have started to collect over the years. So you may end up on a college campus doing research, or you could end up in a corporate archive. So most corporations have their own internal archives that could be open to the public. Some are not. But if you were doing research on a particular vehicle or a particular product, you may end up reaching out to a corporate archive. So, for instance, it could be the Ford Motor Company, it could be Coca-Cola, it could be Chick-fil-A. They all have archives that they keep that document that company and any of its companies that they've either purchased or sold off. You also have government archives, so you have local, so it could be a county. You have your state archives, like the Georgia archives, or your national entity. So for the United States, the National Archives and Records Administration is the federal archives that documents the federal government and all of the agencies and departments within the federal government. Locally, you'll have historical societies like the Atlanta History Center. Also, museums will also have different collections that may not be the physical objects that are on display, but they may have records within their museum as well. Many churches have archives as well, and you generally, if it is a national denomination, there's one or two central repositories that may collect records related to the national body of the church. So for example, the United Methodist Church has an archives where records of the entire denomination are sent. Other churches may also send records, but if you're looking for information on the church as a whole, you would go to where their records are housed. So as you start to do your research, you may end up in all of these different types of archives. And they all are generally open to the public. The hardest one to probably get into would be a corporate archives, because they are generally keeping those records for their own use. So they may or may not allow the public in to actually use their records. So as you start to think about going in and doing research in a particular archives, there are many different types of research visits. So you may start off with just going in and doing a survey of a collection. So you may just want to go physically to the archives and look and see kind of what type of information is available, and kind of determine how long you may have to spend going back and doing research. You may also want to go in and just scan through the boxes and kind of see kind of what is there for you. You could be going to just gather light data or just some casual information, but you also have to factor in the fact that you may have to visit quite a few times to get all of the information that you're seeking. So it's very common that you may end up going on a number of occasions to do archival research. So just as you start to kind of figure out what you want to look at, what your topic is, you may want to set your own timeline. So it may not be that you can go and just spend 1 hour and be completely done looking at all of the items that you needed to look at. It may be multiple visits. So these are some of the things that you'll want to think about if you're creating an actual plan for how you want to do your archives research. What is the objective of your visit? You should already know what collections you want to look at. You should have contacted the archives, and you should kind of understand how long you plan on staying and whether or not you want to go for multiple visits. So now I'm going to spend time talking about how to find materials here at the Auburn Avenue Research Library in our archives. So all of our collections that are available for research can be found, you can find information on them from our website. Just making sure everyone can see my screen. Thank you. So if you are interested in doing research here at the Auburn Avenue Research Library, you can Google Auburn Avenue Research Library and you'll get to our homepage. From this page, you can look at our Archives tab, which gives you information about the archives, highlights of some of our collections, but you want to focus on looking at our finding aids. So finding aids are a guide to different archival collections. And this will generally have detailed information on what is in that collection, as well as the size and the scope of what is in that collection. So this portal takes you to how to search through our different collections. You can do a number of searches. If you were interested in seeing by name, the name of the collections, you can click on the collections, and you can go in alphabetical order looking at each title of the collections that we have available for research. If you have a specific subject, you may want to go in and just use a keyword search. So if you were interested in the NAACP to see what we have here at Auburn, you could type that in and it will bring up a list of collections that may have information on the NAACP. So if we take this first collection, the William Boyd collection, I open up, click on that name, and I get information about William Boyd, as well as what is in this collection. Then on the side, I get to see detailed information of what is in the William Boyd collection. And I can see from the historical sketch that the hit comes because he was the president of the Georgia NAACP. But that doesn't mean that there's something in this collection that may talk about the NAACP. This is a very small collection, and it looks like it's all photographs. So it doesn't look like there's actually any information that would be pertinent for my research on the NAACP. So I could go back and I could look at other collections and see what else I can find on the NAACP. I see that there are records for the Atlanta branch of the NAACP. This is probably more of what I'm interested in looking at. So I can click on that record and I can see a full listing of what this collection is, a little history about the NAACP Atlanta branch, as well as the size. So I see that this collection is 135 linear feet, which is going to be a very large collection. On the side, I can look and see how this collection is arranged. So if I were interested in the NAACP, but I really wanted to focus on their membership, I see that they have separated out all the information related to the membership. And so I could see, okay, this collection documents the membership committee, and they have all different campaigns, reports. And so I could be able to say, oh, I want to come in and look at reports from 1965. So I would know that I needed to look at box 130 from the NAACP Atlanta branch records to find these reports. So you can do a number of searches. You can spend time kind of looking through the collection and figuring out kind of what you are interested in. And you can look at the inventory to figure out if there are items in that collection that are relevant to what you are interested in looking at. So if I was interested in Andrew Young, we also have the Andrew Young papers. So I could look and see what in the Andrew Young papers I may be interested in doing research on. And it may be that you're not interested in Andrew Young as a person, but you may be looking at the city of Atlanta during the time that he was mayor. So you would be able to go into this collection and see that it is arranged where they have separated records that deal with his terms as mayor of Atlanta, and there may be information here that you may be able to use for whatever your research topic is, not necessarily writing or researching on Andrew Young, the person. So every archives repository will have some type of system for you to figure out what collections they have, as well as to look at the different finding aids. So from the previous slide, when I mentioned all the different types of archives, if you were to go onto their websites, you would likely find something similar with lists of collections, as well as detailed information on what are in those collections. And if not, you can always reach out to those archives and ask questions and make sure that you have a good understanding of what is available to do research in that particular archives. So one of the things I also want to show while we're on this website is the archives division. We operate by appointment only. So unlike our reference division, which is open anytime that the building is open, we really encourage people to make an appointment before they show up, because we may or may not be able to take walk-ins. So it's very important that you have set up an appointment. You can set up an appointment easily from our website. We have a link for research appointments. We let you know some of our rules, and you can type in this information and we'll let you pick the dates and times that you are trying to come in, as well as what your topic is. And we also ask you to put the name of the collection and the box number. So this is very important so that we can have items ready for you to look at once you come in. And once you have filled this out, you can press submit. And this goes to our staff, and we will reach back out to you to confirm that your time option is available and answer any questions that you have. If you are not interested in necessarily looking or using this form, you can also email us directly. You can email us directly at aarl.archives@fultoncountyga.gov, or you can give us a phone call and we'll also set up that appointment for you at the number listed. And as I mentioned, we really do request a 24-hour notice before you are trying to come in, so that we can schedule you and make sure that we have everything ready for your research appointment. If you have any questions about any collection, if you have questions about anything within the building, or if you just need general research help about our archives, you can email or call us, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Before I end and take any questions that there may be, I did want to highlight some of our digital collections, which are available on the Digital Library of Georgia. These are all collections that deal with education in the South, primarily in the early 1860s all the way to the early 1950s. And these collections are digitized, so you would go online and you would actually be able to see the items within the collection from the Digital Library of Georgia. And I'm going to take you there and kind of show you how to use that as well. And our newest collection that was opened in 2020 is the Atlanta African American Funeral Program Collection, which has over 3,000 African American funeral programs that have been completely digitized and are available for research. So if you're interested in digital content, you can type in or look at the Digital Library of Georgia, which is the state of Georgia's digital library. So many of the archives throughout the state will have content that is available in this on this website. A very easy way to search is to do Explore. and look at the different institutions within the state. You could also search by county, but you can pull up an alphabetical list. And if you're only interested in what we have at Auburn, you could click on our tab and find different collections that have been digitized, and you can look through them. So with our funeral programs, you can pull them up and you can find the titles of the funeral programs, as well as click on them, and you can open up a PDF. So these are freely available. You could print them out. You could send a link if you were doing research on a particular person, and you're able to utilize these items. Or if you were interested in one of our other collections that have been digitized, you would be able to find information on those different items. And all of the items will open up in a PDF. So if you needed to send a direct, if you needed to save the link or save the file, you could for future research as you are gathering your information for your research project. Depending on how large the file is, it could take a minute for it to load, but generally only a couple seconds, and you are able to see the information that is available for you. And one more website, if you are interested in African American research, I would also recommend looking up UMBRA, the African American Search. Which is a repository that utilizes 1,000 different archives throughout the US and all of their content directly related to African American history. So this website is reflective of African American content in different archives throughout the United States. And so you're able to, similar to what we just saw on the Digital Library of Georgia, but this one is looking at a variety of different places throughout the US, not just Georgia. So I use that same NAACP search. And now I'm going to be able to pull up different items throughout the US that are related to the NAACP. And this is different from Archive Grid because it's actually going to pull up digital content. So these are things that I can see right now from my research on this site. And you'll always be able to tell where the item came from. So this photograph I know is at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, in the Charles E. Young Research Library. And if I wanted to get out of UMBRA, the search, I could actually look at it on the UCLA website. So this UMBRA is a great resource when you are doing African-American research, particularly when you're trying to look at different archives that may have digital content. So this is only going to show you content that is digital. So it may prompt you to want to look at the collections that are at these different places that may be also relevant to the NAACP. Because just because it's on this site doesn't mean that this is all that they have on this particular topic. This is what they have that has been digitized and made available online. Well, if there are no questions, if you have questions after this session, you can always email us and I will type the email as well as the phone number in the chat so that you can have it readily available. And we look forward to seeing you here at Auburn or any other archives repository that may have information that you're looking for. And always know that if you have questions, you should always reach out to that particular archives and ask questions. We are always open to answering questions. That is why we're here. So we want to make sure that people are having the best experience. when they're doing research. Of course, not everything is available in archives. So if you contact us or you contact a archives and they say we don't have information on that thing or that topic, don't think that we're hiding it. It just doesn't exist within that particular archives. But we'll try to help you find other places that may have content that's relevant to your research. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.